Take a deep breath for a moment and feel the weight on your shoulders. If you have come this far, it is likely that you carry an exhaustion that cannot be cured by a few hours of sleep, but rather by the interruption of an invisible war you have declared against yourself. There is a silent anguish in trying to be impeccable, a weariness in the soul of those who believe that, to be worthy of the world's blessings, they must polish every thought, watch every word, and stifle any shadow of humanity that arises along the way. You were taught that spirituality is a ladder of perfection, but this search for a bulletproof vibration has ended up becoming your greatest emotional prison. You try to control the future, you try to predict every stumble, and you try to manifest a grand life while inside your body screams for rest. This incessant search for being ready is, in fact, a constant red flag for your nervous system, a state of survival that closes the very doors you so desperately wish to open. This need to be perfect in order to be loved by the invisible has created a deep energetic flaw in your journey. When you demand an unreachable purity from yourself, you send a message of danger to every single one of your cells. As Dr. Bruce Lipton teaches us, the health and destiny of a cell are not dictated solely by its internal code, but by the environment in which it is immersed. If your internal environment is made of self-criticism, fear of error, and constant tension, you are offering your cells a chemical bath of stress that prevents growth and healing. It doesn't matter how many positive phrases you repeat if, deep down, the fluid bathing your biology is the fear of not being good enough. Abundance cannot anchor in a body that feels constantly threatened by its own judgment, for life only flourishes where there is permission to be, not where there is vigilance not to fail. This rigidity that you call spiritual discipline is often what Dr. Joe Dispenza describes as an emotional addiction to the past. By trying to be impeccable to avoid suffering, you are merely reacting to memories of pain, keeping your brain focused on avoiding what went wrong instead of opening up to what can go right. When you strive too hard to vibrate high, you end up creating a contraction, a knot in the throat, a tightness in the chest that tells the quantum field you do not trust your own nature. The truth they rarely tell you is that the flow of life does not require you to be a saint or a light robot. It requires you to be real. True abundance is not a reward for the perfect, but a natural state for those who have stopped fighting their own existence and allowed life to happen through their cracks and scars. The densest vibrational block you can face is not sadness, nor anger, but the simulation of a peace you have not yet conquered. There is an invisible error in the idea that we need to shield our vibration against any discomfort, as if the quantum field were a harsh judge punishing every fluctuation in our mood. When you feel a tightness in your chest and try to cover it with a forced positive affirmation, you create a dangerous neuroemotional dissonance. Your conscious mind says one thing, but your biology is screaming another. This spiritual mask consumes immense vital energy, leaving you exhausted and drained, because sustaining a vibrational lie is much heavier than embracing a painful truth. Life does not respond to what you pretend to feel to be accepted. It responds to the fundamental frequency that pulses in the pit of your stomach when no one is watching. This self-sabotage disguised as spirituality works like a glass wall between you and your desires. You can see what you want, but you cannot touch it, because you are too busy trying to maintain the posture of one who is already enlightened. Neuroscience shows us that when we try to suppress an emotion, the brain's amygdala becomes even more reactive, keeping the body in a state of alert that blocks creativity and intuition. You become an anxious observer of your own mind, policing every thought as if it were a crime, and this constant vigilance is the vibrational signature of lack. By vibrating in the fear of vibrating low, you end up manifesting the exact stagnation you so dread. It is the paradox of control. The more you try to polish your frequency to attract abundance, the more you signal to the universe that you do not feel safe in your current form. The weight of the spiritual mask is what prevents your true light from illuminating your paths. Imagine that you are a lighthouse that has been covered in layers of dark paint to hide the cracks in your structure. By trying to hide the cracks, you end up blocking the lamp itself. Authentic manifestation requires a transparency that perfectionism does not allow. You spend hours studying techniques and repeating mantras, but you ignore that the silent factor sabotaging your frequency is the systematic rejection of who you are at this very moment. Until you make peace with your messy humanity, with your doubts and your flaws, your electromagnetic signature will continue to be a noisy and confusing signal. Abundance does not need you to be an impeccable marble statue. It needs you to be a clean and honest channel, where life can flow without meeting the barrier of your own judgment. Observe the nature around you and see how it completely ignores the human concept of perfection. A tree does not apologize for having twisted branches or for losing its leaves in winter. It simply occupies its space with absolute dignity, allowing life to flow through its imperfections. There is a sacred geometry in what we call chaos, and that same intelligence governs your body. The neuroscience of acceptance reveals that the moment you stop fighting what you consider a defect, your brain receives a chemical signal that the war is over. When this resistance ceases, cortisol levels plummet, allowing your nervous system to move out of survival mode and into alpha and theta waves. It is in these states of deep relaxation that true reprogramming happens, not because you became perfect, but because you finally became available to the field of infinite possibilities. The great counterintuitive revelation that can change your game is understanding that abundance is not a reward for having reached a state of purity, but a natural consequence of having stopped resisting the now. You have spent years believing you needed to be cured of everything before you were worthy of prospering. But that is the ego's trap that keeps you eternally in life's waiting room. Life does not flow to those who are ready, because the concept of being ready is an illusion of the linear mind trying to slice the infinite. Life flows to those who allow themselves to be pierced by the experience of the moment, with all its weight of uncertainty and beauty. By accepting your irregularities, you stop spending energy on containing yourself and start using that same energy for expansion. It is the end of exhaustive effort and the beginning of real co-creation, where you no longer need to carry the world on your back because you understand that you are part of the world's movement. This break in expectation is what truly opens the floodgates of quantum manifestation. While you focus on lack, trying to fix what you think is broken in you, your attention is anchored in scarcity. But as you contemplate nature, you see that abundance is the pattern, and it does not demand symmetry or impeccability to manifest. A river does not flow in a straight line. It meanders, finds obstacles and bypasses them, but never loses its connection to the ocean. So is your consciousness when you abandon rigidity. You become fluid, adaptable, and consequently immensely magnetic. Practical spiritual truth is not about becoming an angel that does not touch the ground, but about being a human who walks with such presence and acceptance that the ground lights up beneath their feet. When you stop trying to be impeccable, you finally make room to be extraordinary. Often, you confuse the pursuit of excellence with a rigidity that stifles the soul, believing that if you let your guard down for a second, everything will crumble. This is the invisible error of those who try to manifest from fear. You use spirituality as a control tool, trying to ensure that nothing goes off plan. The control trap is a desperate attempt by the ego to manage what it calls divine timing, as if you could hurry the blooming of a flower by pulling its petals with your hands. When you act with this hardness, your neural networks reinforce patterns of insufficiency and danger, making it impossible to visualize new futures because your eyes are fixed on policing the now. True discipline is not that which tightens you, but that which sets you free to act with awareness within your own humanity. Neuroplasticity teaches us that the brain shapes itself through repetition, and if you repeat the habit of constantly demanding from yourself, you are building a mental architecture of scarcity. Every time you criticize yourself for not being spiritual enough, you strengthen the synaptic pathway that says you are separate from the source. This silent factor is what sabotages your frequency more deeply than any passing negative thought. Rigidity creates a physical tension that blocks the circulation of vital energy and intuition, leaving you deaf to the whispers of the universe indicating the easiest path. Real excellence is born of pleasure and curiosity, while rigidity is born of insecurity. When you trade the obsession with being right for the permission to learn, the weight disappears and clarity returns. Learning to differentiate healthy effort from self-inflicted exhaustion is the secret to maintaining emotional coherence in the long run. Perfectionism is a form of ego arrogance that believes it knows more than the flow of life, trying to impose an order that ignores the natural rhythm of things. By abandoning this need for control, you discover the concept of structured detachment. You keep your intention clear, but you do not try to muzzle reality so that it behaves as you want. It is in this space of release that meaningful coincidences and everyday miracles begin to appear. When you stop trying to hold the reins so tightly, you realize that life knew the way all along, and that your only function was to be present and open for the journey. For this transformation to stop being just a concept and become a living vibration in your body, you need to practice the technique of conscious surrender. Imagine that inside you, there is a control room where you have spent years trying to adjust all the buttons at the same time, exhausted by the maintenance of an impossible order. The practical exercise begins the moment you take your hands off the panel and simply observe the light coming through the window. Instead of fighting to transmute an uncomfortable emotion, you invite it to sit beside you. If anxiety arises, you don't tell it to go away so as not to lower your frequency. You say, "I see you, I feel you, and you have permission to be here as long as necessary." This welcoming without identification instantly deactivates the electrical charge of resistance and allows energy to circulate freely through your field again. This change in perception promotes a deep synchronization between your heart and your brain, eliminating the static that usually pollutes your electromagnetic signature. When you stop fighting what you feel, your heart sends a signal of coherence to the brain, informing it that the environment is safe. In this state of biological safety, your intention ceases to be a desperate plea for help and becomes a serene command of creation. You stop projecting to the quantum field the image of someone who needs to be fixed and start projecting the image of someone who is already the space where everything happens. It is the practice of empty space. Moments of non-doing where you allow the universe to reorganize your reality without the interference of your need for perfection. As you apply this technique in your daily life, you will notice that silence and pause become more powerful than any affirmation shouted to the wind. Manifestation stops being an exhaustive task on your to-do list and becomes the natural byproduct of your peace. When you allow yourself moments of creative idleness, without the pressure of producing a better reality, you give the field the necessary silence to respond. It is in this vacuum of demand that the most brilliant ideas and the most unlikely encounters find their way to you. True spiritual mastery is not about doing much, but about being so much that doing becomes a light dance. By letting go of perfection, you finally open your hands to receive what is genuinely yours. There is an overwhelming force in the naked truth that performance can never mimic. Often, we believe that the great quantum leaps of our lives depend on us being at the top of our form, but if you look closely at your history, you will realize that the moments of greatest transformation were preceded by a total surrender, by a moment where you simply couldn't pretend anymore. This vulnerability is not weakness. It is the crack in the ego's shell that allows the light of your spirit to finally touch matter. The resonance of authenticity is what truly opens closed doors. The unified field is not attracted by the polished image you project to the world, but by the pulsing truth you carry in your gut. When you own your fragility with dignity, you emit a frequency of honesty that is irresistible to opportunities vibrating at the same octave. The secret of emotional coherence lies precisely in stopping trying to be who you are not to please a deity that you yourself invented. When what you feel inside is welcomed with love, even if it is deep pain or paralyzing fear, Your electromagnetic signature stops being a confusing noise and becomes a clear signal. Healing happens at the exact moment you stop hiding from yourself. Imagine an ocean. It does not try to be just the calm, blue surface. It is also the dark depth, the storm, and the foam. By accepting your totality, you stop fragmenting your energy and return to being a whole. This integrity is what makes you magnetic, for there is nothing more attractive in this world than a soul that inhabits its own body with total acceptance and presence. By abandoning the armor of perfection, you discover that the universe was not waiting for you to become better, to give you what is yours by right. It was only waiting for you to be present enough to receive. Authentic manifestation is not about attracting things to someone who feels incomplete, but about allowing the abundance of life to express itself through someone who already feels at home in their own skin. When you let the mask fall, the effort ends and life begins to organize itself around you in ways your logical mind could never plan. Vulnerability is the portal to true strength, for only those who have nothing to hide have the power to transform everything at their touch. We have reached the point where exhaustion turns into freedom, and you understand that the return to the home of the self is the final destination of all spiritual seeking. The synthesis of everything we talked about today is not an invitation for you to give up growing, but an authorization for that growth to happen in fertile soil, without the poison of self-demand. Self-acceptance is not a finish line where you stop evolving. It is the very engine of evolution that does not hurt. When you accept your shadows, you stop wasting the vital energy you used to hide them, and that same energy becomes available to heal your body, clear your mind, and expand your consciousness. It is the end of the exile from yourself and the beginning of a life where you are your own safe place. The biological vision that sustains this peace brings us back to the wisdom of Dr. Bruce Lipton. Our cells operate in only two fundamental modes, protection or growth. They cannot do both at the same time. If you live trying to be impeccable for fear of failing, you keep your trillions of cells in protection mode, closing the channels of nutrition and communication. However, the moment you offer yourself self-love in the face of imperfection, you send a chemical signal of safety that tells the system, it is safe to thrive. Self-love is not an abstract self-help concept. It is a biological command of survival and expansion that opens the floodgates for health and abundance to flow without obstruction. As Greg Braden reminds us, the unified field is a mirror that does not reflect our intellectual desires, but rather what we feel as truth in the depths of our hearts. If your internal truth is rest in your own humanity, if you feel worthy even with your flaws, the field has no choice but to reflect situations that confirm that peace and abundance. Manifestation stops being a hunt and becomes a harvest. The universe does not respond to your Herculean effort to be perfect. It responds to the relaxation of your soul that finally trusts the flow that sustains it. I leave you with a provocation for the next few days. Experiment with letting the armor of perfection fall and observe what the world delivers to someone who has stopped hiding. Notice how doors open more easily when you are not trying to break them down with the force of your ego. Feel the lightness of walking without the weight of needing to be right all the time. The hidden truth is that life was always ready to give you everything, but your hands were too busy holding onto the masks you believed were necessary. Now that your hands are empty and your heart is open, you finally have room to receive the immensity that has always belonged to you. You do not need to be impeccable to be loved by life. You just need to be you with all the courage that requires. The awakening you experience now is not the accumulation of yet another theory, but the dismantling of a burden that was never yours to carry. As we close this journey, understand that true spiritual mastery is not manifested in the absence of errors, but in the absence of condemnation. When you lay your head on the pillow and allow yourself to be just a human being, without the pressure of having to vibrate at unreachable frequencies, you finally enter into resonance with the peace that exceeds all understanding. Abundance is not something you hunt in the outer world through perfect rituals. It is what remains when you stop sabotaging yourself with the idea that you are not enough. The end of biological war, final understanding that relaxation is not laziness, but the biological state necessary for what Dr. Bruce Lipton calls the maximum expression of genetic potential. Without fear, there is no contraction. Without contraction, the flow of life is full. Heart coherence. A reminder inspired by Greg Braden that the feeling of internal safety is the language the quantum field understands. If you accept yourself, the world accepts you. If you embrace yourself, life embraces you with opportunities. The invitation to rest. The transition from the spirituality of effort to the spirituality of presence. The perception that light does not need to be manufactured. It is already there, waiting only for you to remove the curtains of perfectionism. The next step. A gentle encouragement to live the coming hours with your guard down, allowing life to surprise you for the first time without you having planned every detail. You realize that by letting go of the reins of impeccability, you did not fall into the abyss, but into the arms of an intelligence much greater than your logical mind. The hidden truth that now reveals itself is that the universe loves your journey, not just your destination. It celebrates your walking with all its stumbles, because it is in your vulnerability that expanded consciousness finds space to manifest on Earth. Go in peace, not because you solved all your problems, but because you finally stopped making your existence a problem to be solved. You are life itself in motion, and life, by nature, is already the pinnacle of abundance.